Welcome back to This Day in Irish History. I'm your host, Raymond Welsh. Before we dive into today's story, if you'd like to explore other significant events that happened on this day in Irish history, visit thisdayirishhistory.com. The link is in the episode description. Now, let's journey back to March 13th, 1846, when one of the most infamous evictions of the Great Famine took place in Ballinlass, County Galway. On this day, 300 tenants were forcibly removed from their homes, their cottages burned to the ground to prevent their return, in an event that exemplified the brutal enforcement of landlord power during Ireland's darkest hour. The Great Famine, or An Gorta Mór, was in its early stages in 1846, but already the failure of the potato crop had pushed many rural communities to the brink of starvation. For tenant farmers and labourers, survival hinged on their ability to maintain a roof over their heads and access to land, no matter how small the plots. However, across Ireland, landlords, many of whom were absentee and deeply indebted, began to view their tenants as liabilities rather than sources of income. Evictions became a ruthless tool of economic efficiency, clearing estates of the impoverished in favour of more profitable grazing land for cattle and sheep. The Ballinlass evictions were carried out under the orders of Mrs. Gerard, a widow who owned the estate. The 61 families who lived on her land had been paying their rent and were not in arrears. Their eviction was not due to non-payment, but rather because Mrs. Gerard saw greater financial potential in converting the land to pasture. With the support of local authorities and a detachment of police, her agents descended on Ballinlass in the early morning hours of March 13th. The families were given no warning. The thatched roofs of their cottages were pulled down and set ablaze, ensuring that no one could return. The sight was harrowing. Men, women, and children stood helpless as their homes crumbled before them, their only possessions what they could carry. With no shelter and no means to sustain themselves, the evicted tenants were left to wander the countryside. Some sought refuge with neighbouring communities, already struggling under the weight of famine conditions. Others made their way to workhouses, where conditions were dire and disease rampant. Many did not survive the ordeal. News of the Ballinlass evictions spread quickly, sparking outrage even in Britain. Reports in newspapers such as the Freeman's Journal and the Times documented the event in stark detail, highlighting the inhumanity of the action. Yet, despite the public outcry, there was no intervention. The legal system upheld the landlord's rights, and similar evictions continued throughout Ireland in the years that followed. The Ballinlass evictions remain one of the most notorious examples of the cruelty endured by Ireland's rural poor during the famine years. They serve as a grim reminder of how economic interests were often placed above human lives, deepening the suffering of those already living on the margins. This event is not just a chapter in Ireland's history, but a testament to the resilience of its people in the face of unimaginable hardship. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Ireland's past. Please like and subscribe, and until next time, I'm Raymond Welsh. Slán go fáil.